Wow, this is a fascinating stack of stuff on AI you've given me. I mean, it's really clear this tech is like moving so fast.
Yeah, it's a bit of a whirlwind right now. I think a lot of people are trying to figure out what it all means.
Totally. And that's kind of our mission with this whole deep dive, right? To try to understand, is AI good or bad for us in the long run? Because your sources definitely point to some, some pretty big potential issues.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're seeing AI move into areas that, we used to think were only for humans, things like, jobs and creativity and even our relationships. And then there's the whole like defense and security side of things too.
Yeah.
Really wide-ranging topic.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay, so let's maybe start with jobs. I think that's something everyone's thinking about right now with AI. Like, are the robots going to take our jobs? Some of your sources have examples of AI, like writing news articles, creating art, even doing legal work. Is this whole job displacement thing like a real possibility?
Well, definitely not a simple yes or no answer. The sources you sent me, they kind of paint a complicated picture. Some jobs are definitely going to be automated, but then there's also this idea that AI will create new jobs, jobs we can't even imagine right now. And then there's the whole concept of UBI, universal basic income, as a way to deal with mass unemployment, if that's what happens. It's a pretty big question.
Right. Yeah, it is. And I mean, the sources I sent you have examples of AI in like so many different sectors, right? It's not just like factory jobs anymore. It's like
Right.
impacting journalism and law and art, things that used to be considered like knowledge work. So that kind of makes me think about the whole creativity question too. Like, can AI really be creative, when it's making art or music or writing? What do your sources say about that?
That's a really interesting area. The whole, like, what does it even mean to be creative? Can a machine be original? A lot of the sources you gave me, the kind of question whether AI can really be original since it's, just learning from data that already exists. And then there's the legal side of it too. Like, who owns the copyright to AI generated stuff? It's really fascinating to think about.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so let's maybe shift gears a bit here. Some of the stuff you sent me was about AI in the military and security stuff, things like AI-powered drones and autonomous weapons, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's some pretty heavy stuff, right? I mean, it's a big deal when you start thinking about taking humans out of the loop when it comes to making decisions in war. And then there's the whole surveillance side of things. AI can be used for mass surveillance by governments, which obviously brings up some big privacy concerns. I mean, some people are even worried about, what happens if AI becomes self-aware? Will it turn on us? Like some sci-fi movie?
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot to think about. That was super interesting. Some of your sources talk about this trend of people having like AI companions, like AI girlfriends and boyfriends and stuff.
Right. It's really interesting. And it's not just like a weird fringe thing either.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are curious about this for different reasons. Some might be lonely, some might just be curious about the tech itself.
Mm.
But the big question is like, is this healthy? Are we going to see people replacing real human relationships with AI ones? That's kind of a scary thought.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it makes you think about what it really means to be human, right? Like connection and empathy and all that.
Exactly. And I think that's the big takeaway from all these sources. AI has this huge potential to change our lives in all sorts of ways, both good and bad.
Right. It's not just about the technology itself. It's about what it means for us as people.
Yep.
Okay, so final thought for everyone listening. Based on all this AI stuff we've been talking about, what's one thing that you think deserves our attention, like right now? What's the most urgent thing we need to figure out about AI? That's something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
It's been real.
Absolutely.
All right, see you next time.
Sounds good.